Changes are coming to global trade. US President Donald Trump has announced that starting the 2nd of April, the US will impose reciprocal tariffs on countries that charge higher duties on American goods. This move aims to level the playing field and address what Trump calls unfair trade practices. These reciprocal tariffs will also be applicable to India, a key US trading partner. Let's listen to US President Donald Trump's address to the US Congress.
This system is not fair to the United States and never was, and so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them.
So what exactly are reciprocal tariffs, and how could they affect India's exports to the US? Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Unman Bhattacharya. Let's break down Trump's tariffs and their potential impact on India. Since assuming office on 20th January, Trump on multiple occasions criticized India for higher tariffs. So what are reciprocal tariffs? Reciprocal tariffs are trade duties that one country imposes in response to tariffs placed on its goods by another country. Think of it like this. If country A charges extra taxes on goods from country B, then country B responds by imposing similar tariffs on country A's products. In this case, Trump claims India charges higher tariffs on American goods, and so the US will now impose equal tariffs in return.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher.
What does India export to the US? India's major exports to the US include engineering goods, pharmaceuticals, gems and jewelry, cotton textiles, and agricultural products like nuts, spices, essential oils, basmati rice, and fresh and processed fruits and vegetables. What does India import from the US? India's major imports from the US include mineral fuels, electronics, machinery, plastics, and advanced pharmaceutical ingredients. Why does India have higher tariffs? The primary reason for tariffs is to shield domestic industries from foreign competition. This is particularly true for sectors like agriculture and manufacturing, where India aims to support local producers and jobs. By imposing tariffs, India makes imported goods more expensive, giving domestic products a competitive edge in the market. For example, imagine a Tesla car. To sell it in India, they face high import taxes called tariffs. This adds a lot to the car's price. So a Tesla car that's $50,000 in the US might cost much more in India. This makes Indian-made cars, which don't have these extra taxes, cheaper for buyers. This helps Indian car companies compete and encourages people to buy local cars.
India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. You know, we do very little business inside.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal visited Washington to resolve tricky trade issues and kickstart talks on a proposed bilateral trade agreement. India is working on increasing market access and reducing trade barriers with the US through bilateral trade agreement.
Our objective through the BTA is to strengthen and deepen India-US two-way trade across goods and services, increase market access, reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers, and deepen supply chain integration between the two countries. So that is how we look at the issue of tariff as far as India-US is concerned.
The US is India's largest trade partner. The bilateral trade between India and the US stands at $129.2 billion in 2024. Breaking it down, US exports to India stood at $41.8 billion, while India's exports to the US were significantly higher at $87.4 billion. So there was a trade deficit of $45.7 billion. Trump's goal is to narrow this trade gap with reciprocal tariffs. So what will the impact of Trump's reciprocal tariffs on India be? A report says India is among the least vulnerable Asian countries in this trade war. According to SBI research, the US tariffs would likely limit the impact on Indian exports to the US to just 3 to 3.5%. This relatively small effect is due to India's diversified export portfolio and its growing trade relationships with other regions such as Europe and the Middle East. Furthermore, India's strategic partnerships and free trade agreements with countries like the UAE, Australia and the EU, as well as its membership in forums like the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP and the BRICS grouping are expected to cushion the impact of US tariffs. In the end, while Trump's reciprocal tariffs may stir up some turbulence, India's diversified export portfolio and strong global partnerships will help keep the impact in check. What you are hearing now are slogans being raised by separatists. This is London, where a group of extremists are demonstrating. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar can be seen leaving a London-based think tank, Chatham House. No sooner did he sit in his car than this man, carrying a flag, charged towards his car before being swiftly taken aside by officers of the Metropolitan Police. No arrests were made. The government of India was furious at the security breach.
There is a larger context to the incident, and it's important to understand that. It brings out both the license accorded to such forces as well as indifference to their intimidation, threats and other actions aimed at impeding our legitimate diplomatic activities in the UK.
UK's Foreign Office condemned the incident. It released the statement that while it upholds the right to peaceful protest, any attempts to intimidate, threaten or disrupt public events are completely unacceptable. The issue was raised in the US House of Commons by Conservative Party MP Bob Blackman.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, as Chairman of the Night.
See this.
Yesterday, the External Affairs Minister from India, Sri Jai Sriranka, was attacked when he was leaving a public venue when he'd been addressing an audience of Indian people in this country. He was attacked by thugs. This is against the Geneva Convention, and it appears that the police and the security forces failed to ensure that he was made safe. Now, this is an affront to democracy. It's an affront to our friends and allies in India, and we need to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So will the leader ensure that the Home Secretary or an appropriate minister makes a statement to this House about what protection we're going to make sure when we have external visitors to this country, that they are safe?
I'm really sorry to hear about the attack, the very serious attack it sounds like, on a visitor to this country from the Indian Parliament. Was it the Indian Parliament, I think he said? This is unacceptable and is not how we want visitors to be treated, and I will absolutely ensure that he gets a full response from the Home Secretary about it.
Did you hear Lucy Powell, Leader of the House of Commons? She says, a serious attack it sounds like, and further asks if the attack was on a visitor from India's parliament. It defies comprehension that the Leader of the House of Commons does not know who Dr. Jaishankar is. It begs the question, was it a display of ignorance on Ms. Powell's part or sheer callousness due to vote bank politics and colonial hangover that she said what she said so casually as if nothing of much significance had happened? Ms. Powell would do well to note that Dr. Jaishankar is not only a member of India's parliament but also India's External Affairs Minister since 2019, and that he had met UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London before the security breach happened. The Government of India told the UK government in no uncertain words that nothing less than concrete action against the separatists will suffice.
While we have noted the statement issued by the UK Foreign Office on the matter, our view of its sincerity would depend on the action taken against culprits on this and previous occasions.
It is important to note here that this is not a standalone incident. Separatist elements have frequently camped outside the Indian High Commission in London. It happened most recently in January this year when they were met with a counter-protest from the Indian diaspora. In March 2023, a mob of protesters had breached the Indian High Commission's perimeter. The Government of India lodged a strong protest with the UK authorities. I asked the then UK High Commissioner to India, Alex Ellis, about this incident in an interview, and he claimed that the UK government does not tolerate extremism in any form.
There are elements, I'm not going to speak about one element or another, of extremism which exists in the UK, and the British government is very firm and is not tolerating extremism in the different forms it may take, and our own laws and processes and regulations are designed to deal with extremism in any form.
But there is no stopping the separatist elements in the UK. In September 2023, Indian High Commissioner to the UK, Vikram Doraiswamy, was barred from entering a Gurudwara in Scotland. And it doesn't end there. The list of anti-India separatist activities in the UK is long. In November 2024, several lawmakers of the ruling Labour Party, including an aide to the UK minister negotiating a free trade agreement with India, participated in a Gurpurab event organised by a separatist group at the Houses of Parliament in London. The function came just a day after UK's Foreign Secretary David Lammy met India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in Rome. British MP Preet Kaur Gill was among the attendees. In 2020, Gill had backed what she described as the right of self-determination for Sikhs in India. Later, she accused the Government of India of threatening British Sikhs. Gill has also campaigned for the release of alleged terrorist Jagtar Singh Johal, a UK national held in an Indian prison since 2017 for his alleged role in the murders of Brigadier Jagdish Gagneja, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or RSS leader Ravinder Gosain, and Pastor Sultan Masi. Multiple referendum votes for a separate state have been held to date in the UK. While the separatists have conjured up heavily inflated numbers to build a facade of strong attendance and participation in those events, in reality they were damn squibs. Those numbers were only conjured up to show India in bad light and gain credibility on false grounds. But India has been trying on its part to expose the separatist elements. In 2015, India shared with the UK a detailed dossier on how Sikh youth are being radicalized in the country's Gurudwaras. The dossier read that besides imparting ideological indoctrination, youth have also been imparted theoretical training to make improvised explosive devices or IEDs using common chemicals by giving live demonstrations. The UK has done almost nothing to quell India's concerns. For India, it is a matter of concern that despite repeated assurances by local authorities, separatists have continued to act with impunity. Dr. Jaishankar's security breach raises some critical questions. What would the UK do if one of PM Keir Starmer's ministerial colleagues were to be attacked or heckled in this manner in India? More importantly, how would the UK respond if India were to host a full-blown separatist movement against Britain on its soil? The UK has a long history of being a hotbed of anti-India separatism. while in India, the movement for greater Sikh autonomy started taking a secessionist turn in the late 1960s. Separatist demand for a sovereign state went global in the 1970s. Since then, Britain has been one of the main international hotbeds of separatism. The man who was at the forefront of the early advocacy for a sovereign Sikh state was dentist-turned-politician Jagjit Singh Chauhan. In 1970, he had moved from India's Punjab to the UK. In 1971, he travelled to Pakistan on his newly obtained British passport. The then Pakistan Army Chief and President of Pakistan, General Yahya Khan, promised him support for a Sikh nation. That was the time when the liberation war in Bangladesh was in its full swing and India was helping Bangladesh gain independence from Pakistan. Jagjit then went to the US, UK's long-standing ally. There he placed a full-page advertisement in the New York Times proclaiming the formation of a separate state. More than half a century later, Britain still hosts the same terrorists who threaten India's safety and sovereignty. Dr. Jaishankar's security breach must be seen through the lens of this dark continuity. Well, Dr. Jaishankar went to Chatham House on the day of the incident to participate in a conversation on India's rise and role in the world. Back in the day, in October 1931, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi had addressed an overflowing hall there. Gandhi had advocated religious pluralism and non-violence, ideas opposite to what the secessionist movement stands for, which is terrorism, extremism, and mass murder. Well, the UK is not the only international hotbed of anti-India separatism. Separatist elements thrive in Canada, where they have harassed and threatened Indian diplomatic staff. Pro-separatist mobs have targeted Hindu temples there. The United States has been harboring the likes of separatist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. The recent attack on a Hindu temple in California is also being linked to the separatists. The question now is, can India inflict costs on countries that have allowed their territories to become safe havens for such extremists? That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munmun Bhattacharya signing off. Take care and stay safe.